The twin suns were setting over the purple skies of planet Villaria. The air was calm, but smoke still floated above the nearby forest, where a small alien village had just been attacked. Human soldier Jack Miles walked slowly through the ruins, his boots stepping over broken wood and scorched stone. He had been sent here on a peace mission, not expecting war. But what he found was destruction. As he checked the remains for any survivors, a soft sound caught his ear. Whimper. He stopped. The sound came again, barely a whisper. Jack turned his head and followed the noise carefully. Behind a half-burned tree, inside the hollow of a broken pod, he saw something move. "Hey," Jack said gently, kneeling down. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." A pair of glowing violet eyes peeked out from the darkness. It was a child, an alien girl, small, dirty, and shaking with fear, her thin arms wrapped around her knees. Her soft skin was a pale blue, and her hair glowed faintly like starlight. She didn't speak. She didn't move. Jack slowly took off his helmet and smiled. "You're safe now," he said. After a long silence, the girl crawled out. Her legs trembled. She had a cut above her eyebrow, and her clothes were torn. Jack gently picked her up and wrapped his jacket around her. "What's your name?" he asked. She looked up with wide, tearful eyes. "Zari." Jack gave a soft nod. "Zari, I'm—" "Jack, let's get you some help, okay?" As he carried her back toward his shuttle, Zari held onto him tightly. She had lost everything, her parents, her home, her people. But in that moment, in the arms of a stranger, she felt warmth. Later, that night, Jack gave her food, water, and a warm place to sleep in the medical bay. She didn't talk much, but her eyes never left him. She followed him everywhere the next day, holding his hand like he was her older brother. Or maybe more than that. Whenever he smiled, she smiled. When he laughed, she giggled softly. That evening, as they sat outside under the stars, Zari looked up at him and asked in a soft voice, "Will I ever be happy again?" Jack's heart ached. He didn't know what to say. So he made a joke. "You know what?" he said with a grin. "When you grow up, I'll marry you." Zari blinked in surprise. "Really?" Jack laughed. "Yeah, why not? You're smart, you're brave, and you've got beautiful eyes." The little alien girl's face turned bright blue with a blush. Her small fingers played with the edge of his jacket. "I will wait," she whispered. Jack thought it was just childlike talk. A silly, sweet moment to make her smile, but to Zari, it was a promise. The next morning, the rescue team came. Jack had to leave the planet for his next assignment. As the shuttle prepared for takeoff, Zari stood silently at the landing zone, holding a small flower she had picked from the forest. Jack walked up to her and knelt. "I have to go now, Zari, but you'll be okay. These people will take care of you." Zari looked down. Her tiny hands shook. "Will I see you again?" she asked. Jack hesitated, then smiled and patted her head. "Maybe when you grow up." He waved as the door closed behind him. She stood there, watching the ship rise into the sky, until it disappeared beyond the clouds. 10 years later, across the galaxy, in a grand hall lit by crystal lights, a figure stood tall in front of a glowing screen. She wore silver armor, her hair now long and braided, still glowing like starlight. Zar, no longer a child. A full-grown alien woman, now strong, beautiful, and determined. Her eyes stared at the image on the screen, a photo of Jack smiling in uniform. She whispered to herself. He said, "When I grow up." Behind her, an elder voice spoke. "You're the daughter of a noble house now, Zari. You don't need to chase old dreams." But Zari turned slowly. Her eyes were fierce. "It wasn't just a dream," she said. "It was a promise." And in that moment, she made her decision. She would find him. No matter how far. No matter the cost. Because a human made a joke. But to her, it was everything. It began with a shadow. not loud, not violent. Just a feeling. Jack Miles stood by the window of his quiet cabin on Earth. It was late. Too late. The stars above twinkled like old friends. But tonight, something felt wrong. He had lived here for 5 peaceful years. No war, no missions, no orders. Just the wind, the trees, and the sky. But now, he couldn't sleep. Not because of a nightmare. Because someone or something was watching him. Earlier that day, Jack had noticed small things. A footprint outside his cabin. A bird feeder knocked. Down his dog, Cooper, growling at the trees. And then, the front gate, left open. But Jack lived alone. No visitors. No neighbors for miles. And the cameras? They showed nothing, only static. That night, he loaded his old plasma pistol and placed it beside his bed. "I'm just being paranoid," he whispered to himself. But even he didn't believe his own voice. Miles above Earth's surface, hidden behind a cloaked ship, a pair of violet eyes watched the cabin through a long-range scope. Zari. She had grown. She had trained. And she had changed. Her armor was sleek and black, designed for silence. Her body was stronger now. Her heart? Still tied to a single name. Jack. 10 years of searching. 10 years of learning human languages. Sneaking through borders. Fighting off bounty hunters who tried to stop her. Her people thought she was lost. Some thought she was dead. But she was only looking for one thing. The human who made a promise. Zari zoomed in. She saw Jack sitting near the fireplace, flipping through an old photo book. He looked older. Gray hair now lined his temples. A scar ran across his left eye. But to her, he was still the same. The same man who held her when she was crying. The same man who joked, "When you grow up, I'll marry you." And now she had grown. Fully. Completely. She wasn't here to play games. She was here for him. Back on Earth. Jack closed the book and stood up. He walked into the kitchen. He poured a glass of water, then froze. The air felt cold. Colder than it should. He looked up. The back door was open. But he swore he locked it. "Cooper?" He called out. No bark. No sound. Jack slowly picked up his pistol and walked toward the door, step by step. Each footfall echoed louder than it should. His heart thumped in his chest. He reached the door and looked out. No one. Just the dark forest and the moonlight. But in the trees, something moved. A flash of silver. And then gone. In the sky above, Zari closed her eyes. She wasn't ready to face him yet. Not like this. She needed to be sure he remembered. She opened a small metal box in her ship. Inside was the dried flower she once gave him before he left her planet. She had kept it all these years, pressed between glass, still safe, still whole. "Tomorrow," she whispered. "He'll remember tomorrow." She set the ship to silent mode, activated the drop pod, and vanished into Earth's forest. The next morning, Jack found something strange on his porch. A small flower. Old. Alien. And completely impossible. Because he hadn't seen that kind of flower since. His eyes widened. No way. He rushed inside and pulled out a small journal, an old mission log from Villaria. He flipped through the pages, his fingers shaking slightly, until he found the photo. The little alien girl he once saved. Zari. He whispered her name like a ghost coming back from the past. But why now? Why here? Meanwhile, deep in the woods, Zari crouched behind the trees. She could see his cabin from a distance. Her hand rested on her chest, just over her heart. Would he remember? Would he laugh? Or would he turn her away? She didn't know. But she had come too far to stop now. And no matter what, she was not leaving Earth without seeing him, without making him remember. The storm hit at midnight. Wind howled through the trees. Rain slammed against the roof of Jack's cabin. Thunder cracked like gunfire. And in the middle of it all, Jack stood frozen at his front door, soaked from head to toe. Was her .zari. Grown. Wounded. Breathing hard. Her silver skin was scratched and burned. Her long glowing hair clung to her shoulders. Her armor was cracked. One hand clutched her side. Blood dark violet leaked between her fingers. She looked up at him with tired, desperate eyes. Jack. And then she collapsed. Jack caught her just in time, his arms wrapping around her before she hit the ground. Her body was warm, too warm. Fever? Blood loss? His heart raced. "Zari?" he whispered. "Is it really you?" She didn't answer. Jack carried her inside and laid her on the couch. The storm outside grew louder, but all he could hear was her breathing, weak and shaky. He grabbed his medkit and started cleaning her wounds. Everything felt unreal. She was here. The alien girl he saved, the girl who vanished 10 years ago, now a woman, injured, and somehow back. An hour passed. Zari opened her eyes slowly. "You're still gentle," she whispered. Jack stopped. "What are you doing here? How did you find me?" Zari smiled faintly. "You told me you'd marry me, remember?" Jack blinked. I was joking. You were just a kid. To you," she said. "Not to me." Her voice was calm, but her eyes, those same violet eyes, were filled with something deeper now. Not just memory. Loyalty. Longing. And love. Outside, hidden in the trees, they watched. 3 dark figures. Shadows. They had followed Zari across 3 galaxies. Her own people. Silent killers sent to bring her back or erase her forever. She made contact. One of them hissed. "Orders? Kill them both." Inside the cabin, Zari sat up slowly. "I broke laws to find you," she said. "They call me a traitor now, an exile." Jack leaned forward. Why risk so much?" "Because you gave me hope when I had nothing," she said. "You gave me a reason to survive. You said, 'When you grow up, I'll marry you.' I believed you. I trained for you. I searched for you. I crossed stars for you." Jack felt something twist inside his chest. He had joked once. She had lived her life by it. Suddenly, the power in the cabin died. Darkness. Total. Then dash movement. Jack stood up quickly, grabbing his pistol. "Stay down," he whispered. Zari closed her eyes, listening, her senses sharper than his. "They're here," she said. 3 of them. Before Jack could ask more, a window shattered. A cold gust swept through the cabin. A laser bolt flew past Jack's head and hit the wall behind him. He fired back once. Twice shadows darted outside the cabin. Zari pulled herself to her feet and activated a small device on her wrist. A blue shield flickered to life over her. "Skin. They won't stop," she said. "They think you ruined me." Jack growled. "Well, they're about to see what ruining looks like." They fought together. Zari quick, precise, like a blade. Jack smart, sharp, like a soldier reborn. Outside, the attackers realized something too late. She wasn't weak. And the human? He wasn't alone. One enemy fell, stunned by Zari's blade. The second tried to escape, but Jack caught him with a clean shot. The third disappeared into the trees. Zari dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Jack helped her up. "We need answers. Why are they hunting you?" She looked at him quietly, then said something that froze his blood. "Because I refused to marry the one they chose for me, a royal general." Jack stared. "They gave me one choice, loyalty or exile. I chose you." It started with silence, a silence so deep, even the wind stopped moving. Jack stood outside his cabin, staring at the trees. The forest didn't make a sound. No birds, no insects, no breath of wind. Zari stood beside him, one hand pressed against her ribs where the wound still burned. Her eyes, glowing faintly violet, narrowed. "They're not gone," she whispered. "They're regrouping." Jack loaded his pistol and checked the charge. "Let them come." But Zari didn't answer. Her gaze was fixed on the sky. Then, she said just one word, "Look." Above the treetops, clouds split open like torn cloth. Something massive passed through the clouds, black, sharp, and silent. A ship, but not just any ship. Zari knew its shape by heart. Royal Enforcer-class war cruiser. Fast, deadly, used only when the highest law was broken. Her people hadn't just sent hunters, they had sent judgment. "They're making a statement," she said. "Killing me isn't enough. They want the humans to see what happens when one of us disobeys." Jack looked at her. "They're not just here for you, are they?" Zari's jaw clenched. "No, they're here to erase you too." Back inside the cabin, Jack turned on his emergency comm system. The screen blinked red. "Jamming field detected. They've cut us off," he said. "No one's coming," Zari replied. "It's just us now." Suddenly, the ground shook. Boom. A shockwave hit the cabin as something large landed nearby. Jack peeked through the window, and his breath caught. Alien warriors in black armor were marching toward them. Not 3, not 10. A whole squad. Zari grabbed Jack's arm. "We can't fight them here. We need to move." "To where?" "There's an old evac station hidden in the mountain cliffs. About 15 kilometers. If we get there, I can send a long-range beacon to my father." Jack's eyes narrowed. "Your father?" Zari looked away. "He's the High Warlord of Velaria." Jack blinked. "You're a princess?" "I was," she said. "Now I'm just a traitor who fell in love with a human." They ran. Through trees, over rivers, across moonlit hills. Laser blasts followed them. Trees exploded behind them. But Jack and Zari kept running. Zari limped, her wounds slowing her down. Jack refused to leave her side. "I won't let them take you," he said. She smiled through the pain. "I didn't come all this way to lose you now." But high above, in the cruiser's command deck, a voice echoed coldly. "Target is fleeing. On foot. Send the executioner." The alien general stepped forward, twice Zari's size, built like a walking tank. He wore golden armor with a burning red mark on his chest. His name was Via. "Rock, the one she was promised to, the one she rejected. She was mine," Varrock growled. "Now she dies with her human pet." At sunrise, Jack and Zari reached the rocky cliffside. Hidden behind brush and stone was an old human outpost, half buried, but still powered. Zar, I limped to the console and began activating the beacon. Jack stood watch outside. "I've sent the signal," she called out. "But it'll take time," Jack nodded. "We'll hold the line." Then he saw something in the distant sunlight, bouncing off golden armor. He raised his weapon. "They're here." Zari turned slowly. And her heart stopped. Via rock. He stepped forward, alone, but even alone, he was a monster. "You shame your bloodline," he said coldly. "And for what? A man who will die in minutes?" Zari stepped forward, shielding Jack. "I choose him." Varrock laughed. "Then you'll burn together." He raised his warblade. Jack raised his gun. Zari raised her shield. And then they charged. It felt like the whole mountain was on fire. Explosions lit the sky. Smoke curled through the cliffs. The ground cracked from the impact of energy blasts. And in the middle of it all, Jack and Zari ran, not because they were afraid, but because dying here meant no one would ever know the truth. Behind them, General Varrock followed like a storm. His golden armor burned in the sunlight. Each step he took left deep marks in the ground. His voice echoed like thunder. "Run, little traitors. Run!" But they didn't look back. Zari's legs ached. Her wound bled again. But she didn't stop. She COULDN single quotes the just ahead hidden inside. The cliffs was an old transport chute. If they could reach it, they could ride the underground rails to a launch tower, hidden under the mountain. "Jack," she called. "We're close." Jack didn't answer. He just grabbed her hand tighter. They reached the chute entrance, barely a meter wide. A steel hatch covered in moss and vines. Jack ripped it open. "Go!" Zari jumped in. Jack followed. Just as a blast hit the rocks behind them, the mountain shook, the entrance collapsed, but they were already inside, falling down into the darkness. The chute dropped them into an old tunnel, cold, dark, metallic. Dust floated. In the air, lights flickered weakly. Zari coughed. "Still alive?" Jack groaned. "Barely, but even now." They laughed, not because it was funny, but because they were still together. A low rumble echoed in the tunnel. Not laughter, not thunder. Sound like something massive waking up. Jack turned his flashlight toward the rail track and his heart skipped. A transport pod was already there, but the power was off, and behind them, the metal wall started to glow red. A rock was burning his way in. Zari jumped into the pod and ripped off the control panel. Sparks flew. "Can you fix it?" Jack asked. "No," she said, "but I can wake it up." She pulled out a crystal from her armor, a small glowing core. Valerian tech, illegal on Earth. Lethal. In the wrong hands, she shoved it into the engine port. The pod roared to life. Doors opened. Jumped in. Va. Rock's blades sliced through the wall behind them. He stepped into the tunnel just as the doors closed. Zari slammed the launch button. The pod shot forward with a deafening boom. They flew through the tunnel, like lightning, metal walls blurring outside. Zari leaned back, breathing hard. Jack looked at her. "You okay?" She smiled weakly. "I've never been better." Then she reached into her pouch and handed him something. A tiny silver ring, rough, handmade, bent slightly. "I made this the year I turned 18, she said. "I kept it in case I found you." Jack held it gently in his palm. "You remembered everything," he whispered. "I remembered you." But peace never lasts. A red light flashed inside the pod. "Warning, interference detected." Zari jumped to the controls. "They're trying to stop the pod." Jack grabbed the manual lever. "If this thing shuts down in the tunnel, we're dead." Suddenly, the pod lurched. Sparks flew. The rail beneath them shattered. The pod flew off the track, crashed through a wall, and burst into an old storage hangar beneath the mountain. It slid across the floor and slammed into a pillar. Silence. Smoke. Darkness. Jack groaned and stood up. "Zari?" No answer. "Zari." He rushed over. She was breathing, but unconscious. Her head bleeding. Her arm broken. Jack's hands trembled. He pulled her close. Then he stood. Slowly. His pistol still worked. His eyes cold now. If they wanted her, they have to go through him. Outside the hangar, multiple alien footsteps approached. Dozens. Maybe more. Jack whispered, "Come on. Where's that beacon signal?" And then, beep. A light blinked on the corner console. Transmission set. Jack smiled through the blood on his face. "You did it," he whispered to her. He kissed her forehead, then turned toward the door. Weapon raised. No fear in his eyes. Asterisk. The gun felt heavy in Jack's hand, not because of its weight, but because of the choice it forced him to make. He stood alone in front of the hangar door. Zari lay behind him, unconscious, broken, but alive. The alien warriors were gathering outside. Their voices echoed through the metal walls. "Bring the human out. Kill the girl if he resists." Jack took a breath. His finger hovered near the trigger. And then, his mind slipped back. 10 years ago, a little blue girl sat on a fallen tree stump, hugging her knees, staring up at the stars. "I'm scared," she said softly. Young Jack knelt beside her. "Hey, when you grow up," he smiled, "I'll marry you." Her violet eyes lit up like a sunrise. "Really?" "Promise." He said it without thinking, just a sweet joke to make her feel better. But now, standing in a hangar filled with smoke and death, Jack realized something. It wasn't A joke to her. It never was. Back in the present, the door burst open. Smoke poured in. Lights flickered. A dozen alien soldiers entered. Weapons raised. Va. Rock stepped in last. His voice thundered across the room. Human. Move. Jack didn't move. I said move. Still, Jack stood still. Then quietly he said, "You don't get to take her." Varrock stepped forward, armor gleaming. "She was mine by law. Promise to me." Jack's eyes didn't blink. "She was never yours." Varrock growled, raising his weapon. "Then die like a fool." But before he could fire, a light burst through the roof. A blue beam shot down, scattering the soldiers. Everyone turned upward. A massive ship hovered in the sky, shaped like a silver falcon, and from its symbol glowing in alien gold, Zari's eyes opened. She saw it. She whispered weakly, "My father." The voice of the High Warlord echoed from the ship, loud enough to shake the mountain. "You dare threaten my blood on another world?" Varrock's face went pale. "Impossible." The Warlord's ship fired a warning blast, melting the trees near the base. Then his message continued. "She has made her choice. Her loyalty is to the human. And now, so is mine." The alien soldiers dropped their weapons. Via Rock roared in rage, but no one followed him. He was alone. Jack ran to Zari's side. She blinked slowly. "Did we win?" Jack smiled. "You did." Zari reached into her belt pouch, the silver ring, bent, scratched, but still there. She placed it in his palm. "I kept it," she whispered. "All these years." Jack held her close. "I remember now," he said, "and I mean it this time." Zari smiled faintly. "Then ask me." Jack's voice cracked as he whispered, "Will you marry me?" Outside, the enemy ship fled into the sky. The mountain was quiet again. Zari broken, but safe. Jack, finally, awakened to the truth of his words. And in the sky above them, a new star began to rise. Asterisk. It didn't begin with a wedding. It began with healing. Zar. I woke up in a white bed. Sunlight pouring through the open window of a quiet, human hospital. There were flowers everywhere. Real ones. Not from her homeworld. From Earth. She blinked, confused. Her arm was in a cast. Her ribs ached. And beside her bed was him, sleeping in a chair, his hand gently holding hers. Jack. Still here. Still real. When he woke, their eyes met, and neither of them spoke for a while. Because sometimes words ruin what the heart already understands. But Zari finally whispered, "Am I dreaming?" Jack smiled. "If you are, then I'm staying inside it." Weeks passed. Her wounds healed. The Earth government sent investigators. Zari's father, the High Warlord, sent peace gifts to the Human Council, crystals, technology, and a letter sealed in royal ink. She is no longer a princess. She is her own voice now. Respect her as you would respect me. The humans agreed. After all, she had bled for one of their own. And then one quiet morning, Jack stood in the same spot where she first arrived at Azure years later, now rebuilt and safe. Zari stepped out, wearing a simple white robe, her glowing hair flowing like starlight. Jack held out a small box. She opened it. The silver ring. Polished. Reed-shaped. But still the same. Zari smiled. Tears touched her violet eyes. "You remembered?" He nodded. "I meant every word." Their wedding wasn't a galaxy-wide event. There were no trumpets, no floating castles, just a garden, a breeze, a few friends. A curious alien child handed them their rings. Zari spoke first. Was alone, broken, lost, but a single joke gave me a lifetime of strength. Jack looked at her, holding back tears. "You were never just a girl I saved. You became the reason I was worth saving too." When they kissed, the flowers around them seemed to bloom faster. When they held each other, the stars above Earth seemed to shine just a little brighter. And when she whispered, "I am yours," Jack replied, "You were always mine." But it didn't end there. They built something together. Zari became a bridge between two worlds. She trained alien diplomats in human languages and taught humans about Valarian culture. Jack became a voice for peace, no longer a soldier, but a symbol. Together, they built a small home filled with laughter, glowing plants, and the smell of earth and stars. One night, under the same sky where it all began, Zari leaned her head on Jack's shoulder. "Would you still love me?" she asked, "if I hadn't come back?" Jack looked up at the stars. "No," Zari blinked. "No," he smirked. "Because I would have come looking for you." She laughed. And somewhere in the sky, her father smiled from a distance, because the human had kept his promise.